I lost my credit over 50,000 t-shirts, so I canceled her future. My card blinked insufficient funds at the gas pump like it was roasting me. The pump beeped, the guy behind me sighed, and my soul slid under the car. I opened our banking app. One charge, 50,000, custom. T-shirts from Threadforge Fulfillment. Mortgage auto pay hits Friday. My business line is tied to this credit. Then my wife texts, "It's a vendor hold, babe. Don't freak." Cool. I love holding 50 grand in cotton I didn't order. I checked the merchant's address. Warehouse district tied to my ex-friend. The human LinkedIn post. My stomach drops. I don't confront. I audit. Set up. Our money rules and cracks. We had rules. Joint account for boring adult stuff. Mortgage, utilities, insurance, groceries. Separate accounts for fun and dumb. Her candles and Pilates socks, my gadgets and unholy coffee equipment. We even had a monthly State of the Union, which sounds romantic until you're spreadsheeting toothpaste. It worked because my credit had been a mess a few years back. Long story short, I tried to bootstrap a business with optimism and coupons, rebuilt from the ashes like a financially traumatized phoenix. She called herself Entrepreneur Adjacent, which is the job title you give yourself when your Canva free trial is doing the heavy lifting. She had ideas. A planner brand with no calendar. A skincare line made of coconut oil and vibes. I smiled, nodded, and gently proposed budgets like a hostage negotiator with a calculator. First crack. Mail started going missing. I asked, "Did the electric bill come?" She said, "They do everything online now." Fun fact, they do not, especially when the envelope says service interruption. Second crack. She changed delivery preferences. Suddenly, hold at location became the vibe. Our porch camera was bored. Meanwhile, my socks were being rerouted to a UPS store that sells fax services and sadness. She announced new girls' nights on Thursdays near the warehouse district, where fun goes to charge forklifts. I said, "Where?" She said, "This tapas place with a view of a fence." The girls? Rotating cast with names like Bree, Ray, and you don't know her. I trust people until they start naming restaurants like password reset questions. And here's the irony. She hates t-shirts. "They're lazy clothing," she once declared, wearing a sweatshirt that said Girl Boss in 14 fonts. So why would our joint account be buying enough tees to clothe a small, sweaty country? My goal was simple. Keep the mortgage paid, keep my business line alive, and not have my credit yeeted into a crater by a cotton avalanche. I told myself it was some mistake. Maybe a card skim, maybe a bank glitch, maybe a very generous hacker with incredible merch ambitions. Then the pump declines, the app shows the charge, and her text floats in like a helium balloon. "It's a vendor hold, babe." Vendor hold? That's not a thing you say, unless you've watched one YouTube video about dropshipping and thought, "I too am a mogul." I did not yell. I did not accuse. I took a big calming breath that tasted like regular unleaded. If she built a secret business life on our credit, I was going to audit it like a petty IRS with a Ring doorbell. We had promised transparency. Big purchases over $500? We talk. Over $5,000? We signed blood oaths in front of the dog. 50,000 was not a conversation. 50,000 was a parade with a marching band, a fireworks show, and a banner that read, "We're committing marital math crimes." So I went home, brewed anxiety coffee, and opened a folder labeled, "If I'm right, I'm sad." I started with our rules, because rules are like smoke alarms. They don't stop the fire, but they do scream early. Joint account showed a few test charges, 99 cents, $1, and 1 cent, from a platform I recognized from Shopify. Since testing. Cute. Also fraudy. Meanwhile, her calendar had a new repeating block, strategy sesh, which, if you've ever started a real business, you know is code for putting the word launch in a font. And every Thursday after girls' night, she'd come home at a strangely consistent 10:42 p.m., not 10:40, not 11. If you're having organic fun, it doesn't hit to the minute. Trains and lies do. I checked the merchant address on the charge, warehouse district, the same block my ex-friend, let's call him Chad, because of course, had his co-working lab for brands that say, "We disrupt cotton." We used to be partners until he accidentally forgot to pay vendors and accidentally took our list of customers. Nothing says friendship like a cease and desist in your inbox at brunch. My gut said this wasn't random. My spreadsheet said, "Bro, I'm warming up." I thought about confronting her right then. March into the living room, hold up the phone like the Statue of Liberty but angry. But confrontation without proof just turns you into the headline villain of a story you didn't write. She's charming. She can. I needed receipts, literally and figuratively, so I smiled when she got home. She kissed my cheek and said, "How was your day?" I said, "Just adulting, you know. Bills." She said, "Same. Crazy busy." I looked at her nails. Fresh. The color was launch red. I made that up, but emotionally it's correct. The plan crystallized: stabilize finances quietly, protect the business line, and map every thread she'd woven. If she built a secret, I would pull it until the sweater unraveled. Or, I guess, the t-shirt. And because I am both petty and patient, I set a silent countdown in my head. 5 days until the mortgage. 5 days until whatever this is either explains itself or meets my inner accountant with a tiny hammer. Trigger event: the decline and the lie. I replayed the decline like a war flashback, except my battlefield was pump 6 and the enemy was my bank. The clerk leaned on the window like a Greek chorus of judgment. The guy behind me revved his Honda Civic, which, frankly, was more embarrassing than my finances. I did the classic broke shuffle: slow walk inside, pretend to browse beef jerky, reinsert the card like maybe the chip needed a pep talk, declined again. The receipt printed insufficient funds in bold, as if my self-esteem needed front row seats. Back in the car, I opened the statement, and there it was. Threadforge fulfillment, 50,000 units. Units! Like we were a military textile wing. I called the bank, hit 9 menus, and finally reached a human whose tone said he had clocked out emotionally years ago. He confirmed the charge, read me the merchant descriptor like he was narrating a bedtime story about financial ruin, and added, "Looks like a rush order." Cool. Nothing says not suspicious like sprinting 50,000 t-shirts through a system at 3 a.m. I texted her, "Hey, did you buy a small cotton nation?" She replied, "Marketing promo for my cousin's nonprofit." The cousin who once needed help figuring out what a PDF is. My eyebrow raised so high it needed oxygen. I said, "Which nonprofit?" She said, "The one for awareness." I said, "Of what?" She said, "Awareness." My phone developed a second eyebrow and it also raised. On the call, the bank agent said shipping showed to a warehouse district terminal, flagged as after-hours receiving. He gave me a delivery window that kissed the edge of my mortgage due date like a rom-com, but with foreclosure. "Any chance it's fraud?" I asked. He said, "If it's fraud, it's very organized." "Oh good, we got the overachiever criminal." I called her. She picked up breathy, like she'd jogged through a lie. "Babe, don't be dramatic. It's a vendor hold," she said. Translation: YouTubed merchant terms, learned one phrase, deployed it like a smoke bomb. Her pitch was half an octave higher than normal. Then came the Deflection Greatest Hits album. "Remember when you messed up the Amex 3 years ago? This is smaller." I said, "It's 50,000. She said, "Relative to potential upside." I said, "Relative to we like living indoors." I stayed calm because panic makes you sloppy, and I needed to be the emotional Navy SEAL of spreadsheets. "Okay," I said, "if it's a hold, send me the invoice number." She paused. A long pause. You could have baked a lasagna in that pause. "I'm driving," she said. It was 9:14 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Using your knees?" I asked. She huffed. "Do you always need paperwork for everything?" "Yes. When everything equals 50,000 cotton frisbees, I do." Mortgage auto pay was 5 days away, which meant my calendar had turned into a bomb timer in a movie where the bomb is also wearing a crew neck. I moved into triage mode. I asked the bank to itemize. The agent, now curious like this was his Super Bowl, red lines, descriptor code, SKU reference ranges, a customer service number that forwarded to a voicemail greeting recorded in a broom closet. Then he said something interesting. "Merchant requested manual review override." That's a phrase you don't use unless you can spell chargeback in your sleep. I ended the call and stared at the ceiling like answers were up there, hiding among the popcorn texture. Her story wobbled like a folding chair at a barbecue. A nonprofit doesn't need 50,000 anything unless they're curing boredom. And if they did, they wouldn't be routing to a warehouse near Chad's Temple of Hustle. She came home cheerful, which was impressive given that my aura was radiating forensic accounting. "Long day," she sang. I nodded. "Same." "Gas pumps are judgmental." "Oh no," she said. "Did your card do that thing?" The word "thing" did a lot of heavy lifting. "Yep," I said, "and apparently we sponsored a shirt volcano." She rolled her eyes like I was being cute, which accidentally made me dangerous. "Babe, stop spiraling. It's a hold for a promo. I'll fix it tomorrow," she said, grabbing a yogurt like she was fixing a squeaky hinge. "Great," I said. "Text me the vendor contact so I can confirm we're not on the hook." She scratched her wrist, a tell I know from every time she couldn't find her keys in her own purse. "I don't have it handy. You'll send it?" "Tomorrow," she repeated, the international word for never. My phone pinged with a bank alert. Mortgage auto pay reminder. The clock ticked louder. Consequences were lining up like dominoes, and the first tile said, "Enjoy explaining this to your lender." I smiled, because now I had my decision. Proof before fireworks. No confrontation, no loud accusations, just quiet data and a plan sharp enough to shave with. I rinsed my cup and said, "I'm going to turn in." She said, "Don't stress." I said, "Wouldn't dream of it," then lay awake composing a to-do list that read like a search warrant. Statements, descriptors, shipping, contacts, timelines. If she built a lie, I'd weigh it to the ounce. If she told the truth, I could cancel the countdown. Either way, by morning, the audit started and the clock kept singing. The evidence hunt. Paper trail begins. Morning broke, I broke with it, and my coffee broke labor laws. I opened the joint account, exported every statement like I was subpoenaing my own life, and dumped the CSVs into a folder named Welcome to Court. Color-coded anomalies in red because drama needs wardrobe. Instantly, a constellation of tiny weird charges lit up. Sense tests, $1 pings, and one heroic $2.17 to print cloud API that screamed, "I'm preparing to be shady." USPS informed delivery? My new love language. I pulled up screenshots like I was binging true crime. Our mailbox featured a glamorous lineup. 2 bank envelopes addressed to her, one from a payment processor I only hear about when someone's crying on Reddit, and a welcome to box 8128 from the post office across town. A P.O. box? Cute. Nothing says totally normal hobby like hiding mail in a zip code with worse parking. I clicked through our email filters and found a recovery hint tied to a burner domain, her first name plus atelier, which is French for "I'm about to Etsy your soul." The domain's admin phone number was 1 digit off our home line, subtle as a marching band. I ran a Secretary of State search for LLCs, and there it was, Containment LLC. Manager listed as R. Sloan. We know 0 Sloans. Unless you count Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, which, unfortunately, the state of redacted does not. I cross-referenced the merchant descriptor with registered addresses. Threadforge's shipping dock matched a co-working address that belonged to Chad's Cathedral of banner ads. I could hear his laugh through the map. Nasal, gluten-free, confident in the way only a man with 3 borrowed ring lights can be. The LLC's mailing address? The P.O. box? The registered agent? An online service people use when they'd like their conscience to remain unbothered. My heart did the heavy metal double kick, but my brain put on bifocals. Time to widen the net. Password manager open, audit trail engaged. Her devices pinged in the login history. MacBook, iPhone, and something labeled Chromebookie. I do not own a Chromebook. I clicked devices on our Wi-Fi router and found a new MAC address named Press. Could be a panini maker. Was not. Held my breath, opened the admin log, and saw connection times that matched her girls' nights. I would have respected a little creativity. Call it book club. Call it kickball. Don't call it press. Cloud drive next. She left breadcrumbs like a pigeon with a bad attention span. A folder called Consulting that contained subfolders named SKU Maps, Size Runs, and my personal favorite, Friendly Refunds. I opened mock-ups, teas with cheeky slogans like debt-free energy and payday but make it passive. One design used my initials in a cute serif font. I considered suing the alphabet. Shopify test payments? Oh, she'd been busy. I found exactly $12.99 transactions, $2 1.01s, and a $3.33 chaos math running through our joint card. The payment descriptor read CMLLC Sandbox. Sandbox? Buddy, this was a sandstorm. I checked order numbers against our bank CSV. Perfect match. She was validating her checkout flow with our mortgage money. Adorable. UPS My Choice did the rest. Our address didn't show any pallets, but the P.O. box had incoming packages forwarded to a Dock 4 after-hour slot. That's like renting a P.O. box for your elephant and listing its dietary restrictions as peanuts. I screenshotted everything, labeled neatly, time-stamped, and, not to brag, hashed the files. If pettiness had a chain of custody, I was the sheriff. I paused for an emotional gut check because healthy people do that. The betrayal wasn't abstract anymore. It had tracking numbers. It had fonts. It had a loyalty program. I felt equal parts furious and impressed, like discovering your dog has been running a small Etsy clay earring shop from the pantry. But then I thought about my credit score, how I had nursed it from, "Are you a raccoon?" to, "We'll consider you for a Toyota," and the anger won best in show. I widened the search again. Subscriptions on the joint card? Hello, Klaviyo spelled wrong and billed right. Email Blaze Pro, Influence Pilot, and an ad creator trial that ended the exact day the t-shirts were ordered. Her Gmail had filters auto-archiving anything from Stripe, Shopify, and support at Cottonmetric. Slick, but filters tattletale. I disabled nothing. I copied everything. I am not a saboteur. I'm a librarian with an agenda. Last, I cold called the Secretary of State helpline like a suburban Batman. "Hi, I'm verifying a filing for Cotton Metric, LLC." The clerk read back basics, then casually mentioned the organizer had used an out-of-state mailing service, multi-state finesse, of course. "Is there a manager's contact?" I asked. "We have R. Sloan." "Great," I said. "Could you spell that?" I already had it, but sometimes you need the universe to repeat itself. I closed the laptop, took one long sip of coffee that tasted like depositions, and stared at the wall. Proof? Achieved. Motive? Money and ego, seasoned with Chad. Opportunity? Thursday nights with Doc 4. Consequence? Mortgage clock still ticking like a metronome in a haunted house. I texted myself a single line: "You are not crazy." Then I added the second line: "You are very, very funny when you are right." Smart tech and logistics, hidden in plain sight. I put on my least sexy outfit, pajama pants and administrator brain. Router time. I logged into our Wi-Fi like a dad who just discovered parental controls, and there it was. New device, Mac ending in 7A9C, nickname Press. Press what? Feelings? The connection history lined up perfectly with her Thursday girls' nights. Online at 6:38 p.m., off at 10:41 p.m., like the world's most punctual secret. I clicked details. Vendor string. Thermal print station. She'd named her crime after a button. Then I checked the cloud. I'm not saying she hid nothing. I'm saying she hid like a toddler behind a lamp. Inside consulting, a subfolder called Dropship Bible, which already made me itch. Spreadsheets titled Size Curves Reverend 7 and SKU Map Final Fairfur XLSX. Mockups with version names like debt-free energy _V130 real final for printer _thisown.ai, because nothing says pro like yelling at Adobe in the file name. Notes said, seed 200 to tier 2 creators, code CMLOV 10. Tier 2 creators are influencers who can sell toothpaste and regret. There was a Canva board with a brand mood, beige, sage, and tax fraud. Tagline, wear your freedom. Freedom from what? Consequences? A doc labeled Refund SOP gave me hives. Step 1. Approve refunds within 2 hours to avoid chargeback ratio. Step 2. Offer friendly refund store credit. Step 3. If they escalate, block. I love a customer journey that ends with a restraining order. Shopify logs confirmed the tiny payments I'd found. She'd done the classic sandbox dance, penny nudges to test checkout, then high-five the dopamine. But buried in the payments tab was a thing of beauty. 2 test orders labeled Manual Capture Override. That's a phrase merchant processors read the way Chihuahuas hear thunder. Another toggle that made me wheeze? Pre-orders allowed. Good luck shipping on vibes while your cash lifeguard is holding their whistle. I cracked open UPS My Choice for Business, which she did not know we had because I politely steal my own mail, and saw the real circus. Pallet scheduled after hours to Dock 4. Driver instruction, text RS on arrival. Oh, Sloan, you mysterious spreadsheet. Delivery notes, keep discreet. Babe, it's a forklift, not a Post-it. Also, she'd enabled avoid weekend deliveries like t-shirts observe the Sabbath. Tracking numbers rolled in batches of 25, each tied to a PO placed at Threadforge Fulfillment. I searched the 3PL's public portal and, chef's kiss, there was an inventory view link hiding behind a QR code. She'd printed it on pallet wrap for easy scanning. I pointed my phone. Boom. Inventory. 49,867 units on hand, 133 flagged as quality variants. Translation: someone misspelled Wednesday 100 times. A Slack invite lived in her trash folder. Subject line: welcome to Cotton Ops. The workspace owner? Chad, naturally, in all caps like he'd trademarked volume. Channel names: hashtag ops doc, hashtag creator seating, hashtag payouts, and my personal favorite, hashtag win back angry. The pinned message in hashtag OpsDoc read, no signatures, driver pick only. Of course. Why sign for anything when you can reinvent liability as a mood? I skimmed messages. Launch locked for Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Someone named R.A. Sloan posted a Gantt chart with a stripe of crimson tasks titled Escalation Protocol. The checklist: fire up backup merchant account if primary freezes, reroute DNS to secondary storefront if traffic spikes, pre-stage refunds through PayPal to reduce chargebacks. I admired the ambition the way you admire a raccoon opening your fridge. Impressive, but also, please get out. The DNS settings were a soap opera. I peeked at the domain panel and saw 3A records, 2 CN names, and a wildcard reroute labeled If Burn. If Burn? Babe, is your contingency plan named after fire? Meanwhile, emails were piping through an ESP I only hear about when Lifestyle Jesus launches a supplement. Warm up? 7,500 daily, throttled to avoid compliance review. My eyes developed a compliance review. Buried in a doc titled Vendor Cheat Sheet, I found the customer service number the bank gave me. It forwarded to a Google Voice inbox with a greeting in a carefully casual tone. "Hey, you've reached fulfillment. Drop your ticket." Background noise included the echo of a cavernous warehouse and someone laughing like a podcast sponsored by hair gummies. I left no message. I am the message. I pivoted to their influencer seating sheet. Names, addresses, shirt sizes, discount codes. A column labeled Relationship Leverage scored people from 1 to 5. Next to me, a 3 with the note Historical Trust plus Shared Bills. I learned I am a mid-level leverage asset in my own marriage. Excellent. Put that on a hoodie. The coup de grace, a spreadsheet named Banking. It listed 2 processors, one high risk with a reserve clause shaped like a guillotine. Payouts batched weekly, unless chargeback ratio greater than 0.9%. Her note, "We'll be fine if CX stays nice." Translation, our entire runway depends on people not being mad on email. There was also a PG list, personal guarantees. I saw her name, and then mine, thanks to a forged e-signature scribble that looked like my signature after a small earthquake. My FICO booster card number was redacted except for the last 4. Cute redaction. I owned the first 12. I sat back, breathing through my teeth like a kettle. She built a full-stack operation with our credit, routed through a man who thinks ethics are optional and vowels are a fad. But here's the twist. She organized it so well that undoing it would be satisfying. All the toggles that made it slick were the same toggles I could flip. Every safeguard they planned against a freeze was an admission they feared a freeze. And freezes? That's my love language now. Containment moved from idea to calendar event. Freeze the joint card. Pull reports from all 3 bureaus. Lock credit like it owes me money. Copy every log. Hash every file. Stash it somewhere not even past me can find. And I would not confront her yet. Not until the oxygen was gone from their tiny cotton ecosystem and every pallet sat very still, thinking about its life choices. Containment plan. Freeze. Separate. Document. Step 1. Kill the plastic. I opened the banking app and hit freeze card like I was slapping a mosquito. The app asked, "Are you sure?" "Buddy, I've never been more romantically certain." I filed a fraud claim, which is fun because they make you choose categories like card lost, card stolen, or used for entrepreneurial cosplay. I picked unauthorized, attached screenshots, and named the case Cotton Ball. Then autopays. Mortgage first. I moved that draft off the joint account and onto my business account like a firefighter carrying a golden retriever. I called the servicer and did my calm voice. "Hey, tiny hiccup, need to switch funding source." The rep said, "We can do that now." And I said, "Bless you and whatever snacks you're eating." She laughed, which felt like a credit score hug. Next, every other autopay. Utilities, insurance, my software stack that bills me at 2:03 a.m. like a raccoon. I updated them with a card that lives in a locked safe. And by locked safe, I mean a bank that hates joy. I set calendar alarms for each draft like a human metronome. We are not missing payments because Chad wants to cosplay Jeff Bezos in a beige mood board. Try bureau time. I pulled Equifax, Experian, TransUnion like I was summoning the Avengers of Disappointment. I scanned for new inquiries, sneaky lines, mystery accounts. No strangers yet, just the utilization spike from 50,000 cotton sins. I hit fraud alert, so lenders have to actually call me before handing someone a jet ski in my name. Then I went full freezer burn, credit freeze across all 3 bureaus. If you want a line of credit from me now, you better show up with a court order and a casserole. Digital evidence vault next. I zipped every folder, hashed files like a nerd sorcerer, and uploaded copies to an offsite drive with a name so boring even hackers would take a nap. Tax receipts, 2016 Archive. I printed key docs because printers only work when fear is present, then wrote dates and Sharpie arrows like I was storyboarding a heist. I also airdropped a copy to my old iPad named Dad's iPad, which no one touches because it requires patience and a charger from 1812. Then the lawyer. I booked a consumer attorney who lives to turn chaos into PDFs. He answered on the second ring with the voice of a man who has defeated at least 3 predatory lenders before breakfast. I gave him the highlight reel, forged PG, joint funds, co-working Rat King, inventory held at a 3PL that rhymes with "we might ship IDK." He hummed like a dentist seeing a cavity he can bill for. We have potential claims: conversion, fraud, marital waste. We can seek an emergency TRO to freeze business assets and prevent inventory release. I said, "Can we call it Operation Hemlock?" He said, "We can call it TRO." We mapped next steps. He wanted affidavits, timestamps, bank confirmations, merchant descriptors, screenshots with headers visible. He said the court likes clean paper more than vibes. I said my paper is exfoliated. He chuckled, which I'm pretty sure is lawyer for we eat today. He flagged the processors. If we drop demand letters citing misappropriation and pending litigation, Risk will do what Risk does. Slam the freeze button. Payment people fear chargebacks like cats fear cucumbers. Boundary time. I wrote a rule on a sticky note and stuck it to my forehead metaphorically. Do not confront until assets are secured. Charm is a smoke bomb, and she's got a crate of them. I turned red receipts off, notifications down, and my face into customer service mode. How can I help you today? By detonating paperwork. That's how. I added a layer of petty cybersecurity. I rotated all shared passwords, created a new email for legal updates with no obvious ties to me, and set up filters that forward any cotton metric correspondence to the Vault of Doom. I enabled login alerts on the router, so if press came home, I'd get a ping like a submarine. I even set a camera on the printer because if that thing starts spitting shipping labels, I want the footage for my museum. Then I called the mortgage servicer back and asked, hypothetically, how they handle brief payment interruptions. There's a grace period, the rep said. We don't report late until 30 days past due. I said, that's not a plan, that's a bedtime story, but thank you. I noted it anyway. Options are oxygen. I drafted a simple ledger labeled marital waste, which sounds like a perfume for divorce court. Column A, date. Column B, vendor. Column C, amount. Column D, why we're sad. I tallied every dime tied to cotton metric. I added a second tab, reimbursement. I am an optimist with spreadsheets and a cynic with people. Finally, reconnaissance. Before I go physically confirm the scheme, I want the net tight. I scheduled credit freezes, done. Demand letters, queued. Tro petition, attorney drafting. Evidence, triple backed up. Auto pays, diverted. The joint card, crying in a corner. My business accounts, air gapped like they're allergic to beige branding. She texted, dinner tonight? I replied, sounds good. I can chew and eviscerate a shell corporation at the same time. Multitasking is my core competency. I looked around our quiet house and felt the click of a puzzle piece sliding into place. Containment isn't sexy. It's not a movie montage. It's 1,000 tiny screws tightening until the machine can't move. And then, when the launch button lights up, there's nothing under it but paperwork and silence. The warehouse visit, confirming the scheme. I did a drive-by like a suburban raccoon casing a compost bin. Night, rain, car smelling like leftover fries and righteous fury. The warehouse district hummed with forklifts and regret. Dock 4 sat under a busted sodium light, romantic if you're into pallets. And there they were, shrink-wrapped towers with pallet labels that read Cotton Metric, LLC. My last name misprinted on one wrap, bold of them to spell me wrong while stealing me right. I parked across from a mural of a wolf doing taxes and waited. A dock worker in a beanie approached with a clipboard and the posture of, I don't get paid enough for mysteries. I rolled down my window and went friendly logistics guy. Hey man, quick question. Looking for Dock 4 receiving, Cotton Metric? Got told to swing by. He glanced at the labels, then at me, then back at the labels like he was triangulating lies. Owner's not here, he said. He said no drop-ins. Owner? I asked. Yeah, the tall dude with the podcast jawline, he said. Partner lady's the silent one. I said, she's very silent at home too. Silent partner? He clarified, as if my marriage had a cap table. We just staged their stuff. Launches soon. He pointed at a laminated sheet taped to a post. QR code for inventory. Bless their hearts. I lifted my phone and scanned. Suddenly, I had the live portal like I just walked into their open house and pocketed the thermostat. Counts, SKUs, bin locations, 50,000 Ts, live. Some marked seed, some creator polls, a lot ready to pick. The SKU names were a personality test. Hustleros, Pay Die Beige, Credit Come Up. If fonts could plead the fifth, these would. As the door closed behind a forklift, I heard voices bounce off the metal. I drifted closer, casual, like I was contemplating life in pallet jacks. Inside, two guys were talking in the tone you use when nothing can go wrong because you haven't met me yet. Influencers go out Thursday night, one said. Friday, we flip payments to primary, do a hard push by noon. Then the kicker. Discount code JSCORE10. JSCORE. My name's initial. Score. Adorable. My legacy reduced to 10% off. I texted myself the code. Receipts are snacks. Another voice, nasal and smug, floated out, the Chad special. He'll never see it, he said. He's still rebuilding his credit. We're doing him a favor. He'll thank us when it scales. The laughter that followed had the exact pitch of a man who uses the word synergy while microwaving fish in an office. I felt my molars file themselves into knives. I stepped away before my face did a crime. A different dock worker came by to smoke and complain about everything. I offered him gum, because bribery but make it minty. What's the deal with Containment? I asked. He shrugged. They're not the worst. Money's on time. But the guy, Chad? Dude wants everything after hours, no signatures, and calls this stealth mode. Bro, it's shirts. I nodded like I was a TED Talk about reality. And the partner? He blew smoke at the moon. Nice enough. Nervous. Keeps saying this will prove something. Been in here twice a week. Doesn't touch the pallets. Stares at them like they'll applaud. The timing clicked. Thursday girls' nights. Friday launch. Mortgage bomb. I let the info settle like dust after a forklift scrape. Then, because the universe loves a flourish, my phone buzzed. Calendar reminder. Payday. But make it passive. I almost threw it into the river. Instead, I opened the inventory portal again and scrolled to logistics notes. They had a final go checklist. Merchant toggles, DNS cutover, influencer links. One line read, if primary processor flags, route to alt pay. The risk plan was taped next to the pallets like a fire exit map. I made a choice right there, leveraged their timeline against them. If launch was Friday, we cut oxygen Thursday at dawn, freeze the merchant, lock the 3PL, point the domain somewhere that says, not today, Satan. I messaged my attorney, confirm TRO filing window for Friday 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, evidence stacked. He replied with a thumbs up and a document emoji, which in lawyer means the brief will slap. I took one last look at the cotton skyline. The labels shone in the wet light, declaring ownership with confidence they hadn't earned. And I thought about how hustle culture always forgets about custody. You can build the plane while flying it, sure, but the FAA, also known as me, can still close the runway. I put the car in gear, smiled at Dock 4 like it was a future crime scene, and drove off rehearsing the sound of a merchant account freezing. A soft click, followed by silence. Legal offensive. Paper beats passion. Thursday, 6:11 a.m., I walked into my attorney's office carrying a tote bag full of printed receipts like a PTA mom who moonlights as a bounty hunter. He slid on readers, paged through my labeled tabs, conversion, fraud, marital waste, Chad is a noun, and a verb, and nodded like a surgeon meeting a very operable appendix. We go paper, he said. Paper beats passion every time. He outlined the play. Count 1. Conversion, using joint funds to build a business I didn't consent to. Count 2. Fraud. Hello forged personal guarantee, my signature doing the worm across a PDF. Count 3. Marital waste. Economic fault with a beige color palette. We'd pair it with an emergency TRO. Freeze business accounts, stop inventory release, expedite discovery. He said expedite discovery, the way other people say extra guac. I asked if we could add chips, and he said that's called sanctions. We prepped declarations. He dictated. I swore. I read my affidavit like bedtime stories for angry judges. Dates, amounts, SKUs, device logs, the router's press cameo, the Slack with hashtag #WinBackAngry, the QR inventory portal taped to a pole, and Chad's greatest hits about my credit score. He underlined forged PG like it owed him rent. This is the hinge, he said. Judges adore hinges. I added, and Chad loves doors that say do not enter, which my lawyer called color, and I called therapy. Then we hunted liens. He ran a UCC search while sipping coffee that looked like contempt. No filings yet, he said, which is cute. We'll fix that. He drafted a UCC1 financing statement to stake a claim in inventory purchased with misappropriated funds. I asked, is this like planting a tiny legal flag? He said, it's like bolting your name to the pallet. Next, demand letters. We built them like Lego lawsuits. Facts up front, citations that bite, exhibits tabbed like a sushi menu. One to the merchant processor. Joint funds, pending litigation, forged PG, misappropriation. Please hold all payouts in reserve or prepare to meet exhibit panic. One to the 3PL. Ownership dispute, inventory freeze request, notice of UCC claim, do not release. Do not even wink at a forklift. He added a line, processors fear more than honesty. Chargeback exposure projected if sales proceed. Somewhere, a risk analyst spilled his oatmeal. We also included my favorite sentence in the English language, pursuant to the attached court order, which is legal for we brought friends. He cued subpoenas like party invites for people who hate parties. Email host for Containment, bank records, fulfillment logs, Slack workspace metadata, domain registrar DNS changes, UPS doc scans, even the Google Voice inbox that said, drop your ticket. I asked if we could subpoena Chad's hairline. He said, focus. We packaged the TRO motion, memorandum of law, my declaration, screenshots with URLs visible, hashes noted, timestamp stamped, and a proposed order with boxes for the judge to tick like a moral to-do list. He explained the standards: likelihood of success, irreparable harm, balance of equities, public interest. "You have all four," he said. "You're basically a legal square," I said. "Put me on the periodic table between boring and petty," and he didn't disagree. I signed so many times my hand filed a workers' comp claim. He sent the clerk an emergency filing request and flagged ex parte, because if we gave advance notice, Chad would turn those pallets into confetti and call it a pivot. The clerk granted a same-day hearing window. "We'll be in front of a judge by afternoon," he said. "Wear your trustworthy voice." While the motion cooked, we pulled the last thread, the personal guarantee. We traced the e-sign to a timestamp during my dentist appointment because, of course, my molar alibi would save me. The IP log to Chad's co-working. The signature style matched a previous doc where my name looked like it had been autographed by a squirrel. We appended it with a red arrow labeled Nope. At 10:03 a.m., demand letters flew. The processor's auto-reply promised a review by the department of meanwhile. The 3PL replied in 20 minutes with the energy of a man who doesn't want to be a defendant. "We have placed a hold pending resolution," they wrote. "Look at Doc 4 learning boundaries." By 11, my attorney dialed into the processor's risk team, put them on speaker, and unleashed polite terror. He said, "Fiduciary duty, constructive trust, and dissipation," like he was seasoning a steak. I added, "Also, they named a discount code after my credit score." Silence, then a cough. Then the risk guy said, "We've temporarily suspended payouts while we review." Translation: oxygen mask on, cabin pressure dropping. Noon. We served Chad. Well, we served his receptionist, who said, "He's in a content block," which is the most Chad sentence possible. 2 minutes later, an email arrived from an address that screamed, "Hustle," subject line, "This is a misunderstanding." He proposed a call to clear the air. My lawyer replied, "See you in court." We hustled to the courthouse like two squirrels with a filing cabinet. Judge took the bench, brows arched to hear. My attorney kept it tight. Misappropriated funds, forged guarantee, launch imminent. Inventory in transit, processors notified, 3PL on hold, mortgage clock ticking, irreparable harm sprinting toward us in crewneck cotton. The other side, not present. Ex parte means exactly that. No one to perform jazz hands. The judge asked one question: "If I don't grant this, what happens by morning?" My lawyer: "They monetize stolen capital into consumer transactions that will be costly to unwind, Your Honor. Chargebacks, shipping, reputational harm. We cannot unring 50,000 shirts," I added, "and my credit dies in a t-shirt avalanche." The judge tried not to smile. Then she signed. Churro granted. Asset freeze on any accounts receiving cotton metric proceeds. 3PL ordered to hold inventory. Processors enjoined from releasing payouts. Expedited discovery greenlit. She scheduled a preliminary injunction hearing for next week and told us to serve everyone yesterday. I exhaled so hard, I reset a small wind chime in the hallway. Walking out, my phone lit up. Processor notification. Account under review. Payouts held for up to 180 days. That's risk team for good night. The 3PL sent confirmation. No releases without written consent of both parties or court order. Doc 4, meet your new religion. On the steps, my lawyer clapped my shoulder. "You did the boring things," he said. "Boring wins," I said. "So does petty." He said, "Only when documented," and waved the folder like a victory flag made of copier paper. Launch day ambush. Cut the oxygen. Dawn cracked like an egg, and I made an omelet out of other people's hopes. I brewed courtroom strength coffee and opened my laptop to the dashboard of "Good morning, you're done." First move, merchant account. My attorney had already slipped the TRO into their legal inbox like a subpoena-shaped croissant. I hit resend with exhibits. Risk teams love paper the way cats love boxes. 30 seconds later, the merchant portal flashed a cheery red banner. Payouts held in reserve. Translation: your money is in timeout until it forgets what it did. Next, the 3PL. I forwarded the court order and CC'd every email I had scraped. Operations, doc manager, support at, and the guy who once replied at 2 a.m. with only the word "okay." Subject line: court order. Do not release cotton metric inventory. Within minutes, Doc 4 pinged back. Hold acknowledged. I pictured a forklift lowering a pallet like it had just learned manners. Shopify time. Their trust and safety team got exhibit everything. Forged PG, misappropriation narrative, and a screenshot of Slack's #WinBackAngry because I enjoy irony before breakfast. I asked for a temporary disable of payments pending investigation. While their auto elf typed, "We'll review within 24 to 48 hours. My attorney rang a human, dropped the TRO, and suddenly the timeline was immediate. Payments toggled off. Checkout buttons turned into decorative icons. Somewhere, an add to cart wept. DNS reroute was dessert. I logged into the domain panel and pointed the A record to a neutral notice page our attorney drafted. Clean, boring, murderous. Notice of pending legal dispute. Orders paused. No snark, no memes, just the kind of sentence that makes influencers swallow hard. I left email flowing so they could receive refunds, apologies, and the echo of their own hubris. Then I set the boomerang. Influencer codes. I couldn't kill them, but I could lobby gravity. I filed IP complaints against the specific coupon strings carved out of my name. 10 minutes later, a handful of platforms flipped those codes to error messages. If you've never watched a hype train run out of track, I recommend it with toast. By 8, the risk snowball was rolling downhill. Processor sent a formal account under review, reserves increased to 100%, payouts held up to 180 days. A polite way to say, we've encased your cash in amber. At 8:32, the 3PL's legal CC'd me on an internal. Do not load Doc 4 for CM. Court order attached. Any deviation requires GC approval. Somewhere, a pallet sighed and accepted its fate. Then the inbox lit. Chad, subject line, emergency. First email. We're experiencing a temporary processing issue. Can we chat? No. Second, this is causing irreparable harm. Buddy, I brought receipts to a feelings fight. Third, we'll compensate you for the inconvenience. I replied with a single attachment, the court order, bolded line. No transfer, no movement, no release. My wife started texting like a slot machine with anxiety. Call me. What did you do? Why is our site down? My friends can't check out. People are DMing me. Then, can you just toggle it back on? As if I turned off the sun. I put my phone face down like it was hissing. Silence is a strategy, and also, I didn't trust my mouth to avoid jokes about beige branding in front of a judge. At 9 sharp launch o'clock, the internet tried to meet cotton metric and ran into a paused by court sign. Influencers posted unboxing stories that cut to code not working. Comment sections went from heart emojis to popcorn emojis to mini class actions in under 12 minutes. One brave soul wrote, "This brand is serving subpoenas." I whispered, "Chef's kiss," to no one. Refunds started auto-triggering because Shopify payments were disabled and pre-orders migrated into their existential phase. The crisis doc in Slack? Oh yes, I was still peeking. Lit up with Plan C, route to AltPay? AltPay rejected onboarding. Risk people can smell fire through the internet. Someone suggested manual PayPal invoices and immediately someone else typed, "No chargeback risk." Welcome to Tuesday, kids. Chad's meltdown ascended stages. He started Big Boss. We'll handle this. Then negotiation. What number makes this go away? Then spiritual. We are trying to create value. Finally, ferret. 12 emails in 4 minutes, each with more caps. He called my phone. I let it ring while I buttered toast with the grace of a man who canceled oxygen on purpose. My attorney filed the TRO and open court docket and sent notice of service confetti to every address we had. We weren't hiding, we were narrating. The judge's clerk stamped receipt. If anyone thought this was a bluff, the docket said, "Hold my robe." Around 10, I checked the inventory portal out of pure hobby. Those SKUs? Frozen. Pick list? Grayed out. Bin counts? Mocking them silently. They had built a machine, and I had found the off switch labeled rules. Then came my favorite micro drama, a DM from an influencer who'd received the seed kit. "Hey, I think something's up with your code," I said. "I don't have a code," she replied. "They said the code was your initials." I said, "My initials prefer not to be monetized today." She sent a skull emoji. Accurate. By noon, the rumor cycle had gone full Ouroboros. Reddit threads sprouted like mushrooms. "Anyone else get a weird legal notice on a launch? Is Cotton Metric a scam?" Ahmad posted, "Keep it civil, no doxing," while linking the public docket because community standards contain multitudes. My wife finally switched from text to essay. "I was going to tell you. It was supposed to be a surprise when it worked. You made me feel small about ideas." This was me proving. I stopped reading at surprise. Surprise is cake, not debt. I took a breath, checked the mortgage auto draft I had rescued, and watched it clear like a sunrise. My business line sat untouched, insulated like it lived in witness protection. Doc 4 remained a museum exhibit. The ambition of Cotton, unmoving. The last ping before lunch came from the processor's risk team. Given the court order and potential chargeback exposure, all processing privileges remain suspended pending outcome. Translation. We heard the judge. We adore self-preservation, and your runway is now a hallway. I closed the laptop and ate my toast. Launch day had happened. It just launched my paperwork into their bloodstream and sucked the oxygen out. I didn't gloat out loud. I let the silence do it. It's louder. The confrontation. Truth, tells, and terms. We did it at the kitchen table because that's where budgets live and dreams go to fill out forms. I set a neat stack of documents down like a flight attendant demonstrating exits. She sat across from me in a sweatshirt that said manifest, which, frankly, made me carnivorous. I didn't start with feelings. I started with dates. March 12th, sense test from CM LLC Sandbox. April 2nd, domain configured. May 19th, PO Box. June 4th, ThreadForge Rush. Thursday nights, press logs in 6:38 to 10:41. Friday, launch at 9. Any part wrong? Blink 1, denial. You're twisting normal expenses, she said, picking at the cuff like it owed her money. Everyone runs tests. Then, the remix. Maybe the shirts are like pre-money? Pre-money. For cotton. I slid the photo of the pallet wrap with the QR code. Everyone runs tests. Not everyone shrink wraps their confession. Blink 2, minimization. It's 50,000 shirts, not $50,000, she said, as if we'd bartered with the cotton fairy. Besides, I have a plan to sell out, she added. It's kind of a vendor hold / scholarship for the brand. A scholarship for teas. I flipped to the spreadsheet labeled banking, with a forged personal guarantee using my credit. Cute autograph you gave me, very seismic. Her breath did that stutter step I know from the time she tried to carry 6 shopping bags at once. I didn't forge anything, she snapped, too fast. Chad handled paperwork. I just clicked. It was like DocuSign adjacent. Chad also handled my name like a ransom note, I said. IP address says his co-working space at 11:17 a.m., while my mouth was full of dentist. You want to try another door? Perhaps the one marked admit? Blink 3. Blame. You made me feel stupid for trying, she said. Every idea, you turned into a spreadsheet funeral. You're controlling. I pointed at the mortgage confirmation I'd rescued. I am controlling about shelter. Sue me. But you didn't ask. You didn't discuss. You funded a stealth startup with joint money like a raccoon ordering DoorDash. She slumped, then rallied into bargaining. Okay, fine. I should have told you. But it's already set up. We can do it together. 50-50. You're good at ops. I'll do marketing. The buzz is real. People are commenting, same already. I tapped the TRO. The buzz is a court order. Payments frozen. Inventory held. Your buzz is a freezer burn. She stared at the paper like it had talked back. You went to a judge? She whispered, equal parts shocked and offended, like I'd used the fancy towels. I went to an adult, I said, because you didn't. Now we're going to do this properly. Terms. Her chin lifted. Terms? Are you serious? Deadly, I said, and I slid her a printed list. 1. Full disclosure of all accounts, emails, domains, and devices tied to Cotton Metric or any related entity, including R. Sloan, which, by the way, who is Sloan? Registered agent, she muttered, eyes down. It's just a service. Good. 2. Hand over every device. Today. I image them, then return them. 3. We separate finances immediately. Joint card remains frozen. Your discretionary account stays yours. Bills move permanently to mine. 4. You sign an acknowledgement of marital waste for any joint funds used. 5. You contact the processor and 3PL and tell them you consent to holds pending resolution. She breathed through her nose like a bull considering yoga. That's insane. What's insane is discount code JSCORE10, I said. Also insane, pretending this was a surprise party when it was arson. She looked at the ceiling like answers were up there. I thought I'd surprise you when it worked, she said, finally. You used to be fun about ideas. Then you got careful. I wanted to prove I could actually build something. Build something with me, I said. Not against me, not on me, not through Chad. You chose stealth over partnership. That's not entrepreneurship. That's embezzlement with Canva. She winced. That's harsh. So is a 100% reserve, I said. And before you say mistake, know this. Chad forged my signature on your PG docs. I slid the side-by-side signatures. See the flourish? He draws GAs like a drunk swan. Her face drained. He said he just filled it in because he had your consent on file. Look, I didn't read every doc. I clicked. He was moving fast. He always moves fast when it's someone else's brake pedal, I said. Here's the last term. We're past surprise. We're at consequences. You tell me everything now, or the only person you'll be negotiating with is the court. Silence hung like a wet towel.
Then she caved in pieces. "There's a backup processor," she said. "I'll pay, but we didn't pass underwriting. A second domain, Cotton Metric, Cotton Shop, pointed to a mirror site. A plan to seed 200 creators, a private Slack. The refund SOP was mine. The DNS failover was Chad's. The R. Sloan email is me." I nodded, letting each
Bead roll. Devices. She fetched the Chromebook and her phone, set them down like kittens she'd found. "You're really going to image them? I'm really going to stop you from drowning us," I said. "And then I'm hiring separate counsel. We're separating finances today." After that, we talk about separating the rest. That landed like a crate. "Divorce?" she whispered. "I don't know yet," I said. "But I know trust doesn't respawn because you wrote a caption. So for now, business triage. And you email Chad that any further contact goes through counsel." Her eyes went glassy, then stubborn. "He'll say you're overreacting." "He can say it to a judge," I said. "Terms stand. Take them, and we keep this civil. Refuse, and I make the TRO your homepage." She stared at the list, then signed the bottom with a shaky pen. "Fine," she said. "Terms." "Good," I said, gathering the paper. "We start with passwords. Then we call your mother and tell her not to expect merch. Also, retire vendor hold from your vocabulary. It's not a spell." Fallout for the rival. Collateral consequences. The thing about a TRO is it doesn't just freeze assets. It flash freezes reputations like peas. By Monday, Chad's landlord discovered his content studio was actually a stack of pallets with a dream and sent a love letter per your personal guarantee, which, surprise, was now invalid. Your rent escalates to today, not someday. He tried to charm accounts payable over the phone. You could hear the smile. The manager answered with math. Click. Influencers started posting their whoop stories between teeth whitening ads. Code didn't work. Then I got a legal notice. Then someone named support sent me a screenshot of a court order. Cue the eye roll emojis. Brands watch those stories the way hawks watch mice. Cotton Metric got soft banned in 5 group chats and one spreadsheet literally titled "Do Not Touch." If you've never seen a brand get blacklisted by a mommy group that can organize a fundraiser in 7 minutes, it's biblical. Chargebacks hit like a hailstorm. Even the pre-orders that never captured tried to become refunds, then decided to become disputes because people love a narrative arc. Processors count disputes like calories. Win or lose, they still get tallied. Risk teams began quoting scripture. Your ratio exceeds thresholds. Privileges suspended. Funds reserved up to 180 days. Translation? We're keeping your lunch. Please stop calling. The 3PL, Doc 4, my church, got cranky. Those pallets weren't moving, but the storage clock was. Accessorial fees, rewrap fees, you looked at the pallet fees. Landlord style, but with forklifts. A week in, the warehouse posted a sign on the dock cage. No CM loads without legal. Okay. It was in Sharpie. That's how you know the vibes were formal. Chad's stealth mode lost its stealth when his professional circle put 2 and 2 together and got, "Oh, that guy again." Vendors I hadn't spoken to since my rebuild days slid into my inbox with the energy of, "We heard a rumor we hope is true." One forwarded a Slack screenshot. Apparently, #WinBackAngry became #angry1. Someone wrote, "We can spin this." Someone else replied, "We cannot spin a court order." Growth mindset met gravity. The co-working space, Temple of Hustle, called his security deposit due yesterday. Their lease has a clause in 14-point bold. Any illegal or enjoined activity triggers immediate review. Review completed. Please remove your ring lights. He tried to schedule a member town hall. Attendance: 3 succulents and a guy named Trevor who thought he was at a podcast. Then came the quiet knives. Agencies that once flirted with him pulled proposals, pausing for internal reasons. A newsletter that used to quote his threads on Threads quietly scrubbed his byline. A VC associate who wears vests in summer emailed me. "Off the record, is he radioactive?" I typed back, "He glows in the dark," and attached the docket link. Reply: understood. Meanwhile, the landlord at the warehouse did what landlords do when they smell a documentary: a crank it letter. Because the personal guarantee was tied to a signature drawn by a caffeinated squirrel, it fell apart on inspection. Without that PG, they had leverage. Pay in full or hello, lockout. Lockout in logistics means a padlock and your dream staring at you from the wrong side of a fence. They turned the key with ceremony. Doc 4 went from busy to museum, the quiet ambition of beige. He tried to pivot to customer love. He posted a Notes app apology that said values 6 times and temporarily 4. Comments asked why his apology included an affiliate link. He removed it, then posted again with a photo of him looking thoughtful in a hoodie. The top reply was just a screenshot of the line in the order: "Do not release inventory." I almost crocheted on a pillow.
Behind the scenes, my attorney's subpoenas started returning like boomerangs with gossip. Payment logs showed the manual capture.
Overrides. Slack metadata showed midnight strategy sessions titled Plan D if it gets legal. My favorite artifact, a deck slide with the header Risk Mitigation. Bullet 2 reading, if spouse finds out, handle. I printed it, framed it, and mentally hung it over a toilet. And the pros who'd once applauded his move fast energy finally admitted what most of us learned the hard way. Move fast, break laws is a bad roadmap. One by one, they stopped returning his calls because no one wants to be CC'd on an indictment by vibes. I didn't need revenge. I needed equilibrium. Watching his empire get audited by the universe wasn't spite. It was a balance sheet rebalancing itself. The cotton stayed still. The story kept moving. Divorce strategy, clean break, clean books. We lawyered up separately like adults who have seen the end credits. My counsel wore serenity and sharpened pencils. Hers wore perfume and plausible deniability. First meeting, the phrase irretrievable breakdown floated across the table like a scented candle named reality. I didn't grandstand. I handed over the marital waste ledger like a menu. Dates, vendors, amounts, and the column, why we're sad. Her lawyer pursed lips at why we're sad, but kept reading. Good. Sadness is admissible if you give it rose. We brought in a forensic accountant whose superpower is frowning at numbers until they confess. He requested bank statements, processor logs, Slack exports, DNS history, and the romantic P.O. Box contract. 2 weeks later, he returned with color graphs and a tone that said he hates surprises more than I do. Recoverable via offsets and reimbursement. Total joint outlay attributable to cotton metric X, he said, tapping the page. He also circled the forged PG like a teacher grading hubris. Temporary orders hit next. The court gave me exclusive use of the home because I was the one not trying to turn the garage into fulfillment. She relocated to a rental with good lighting and fewer pallets. We split the dog by vibes. He sleeps wherever the kibble is. And we agreed on a Google Calendar named Civil. If you've never traded Saturdays like draft picks, I recommend it with gum. Financial triage continued. I built a credit rehab plan that looked like a Rocky montage but with envelopes. Goodwill letters to past creditors. Hi, remember my faithful payments? Please remove the scarlet letter of utilization. Rapid rescore with my lender once the processor freezes stopped reporting like a meteor strike. Utilization hack. I overpaid revolving lines until the balances blushed into single digits. My credit score climbed out of the crater, coughing, but standing. The business needed insulation like a cabin in a blizzard. I spun up a fresh EIN for my company, opened bank accounts in a different institution where joy goes to be FDIC insured, and had vendors sign affidavits. No ties to cotton metric, no shared processors, not even shared fonts. Compliance sweep, 2. Privacy policy updated, data retention shortened, 2-factor authentication everywhere because my router still has trauma from press. I became the person who says, email me the SOC 2, and means it. Her disclosures came in fits and starts, like dial-up feelings. A second email, a backup spreadsheet, a list of creator seeds she wanted returned. My lawyer stayed polite while translating everything into receipts. The forensic accountant added each revelation to the ledger and highlighted the part where Outpay told them, LOL no in corporate. We packaged it for the court like a charcuterie board of consequences. I try not to do performative forgiveness because I'm not auditioning for sainthood. We talk logistics, then sit in separate rooms and remember we used to laugh. Grief arrived like a delivery we didn't order. Quiet mornings, mugs that used to be a set, a hoodie draped over a chair that said manifest and now meant something else. I kept my humor, but I let it take off its shoes. On the legal front, her counsel floated a proposal. What if we count the shirts as an asset? Cute. My lawyer slid the TRO and the order for liquidation if necessary. Assets purchased with misappropriated funds don't get a personality, he said. They get appraised. We agreed on a framework. Reimburse joint account from sale proceeds. If proceeds fall short, offsets reduce her share of remaining marital property until ledger zeros. Translation. Cotton pays the tab or she does. Temporary support? Number said none. We both work. The court wanted budgets. I produced one that looked like a disciplined monk. She produced one that included content creation snacks. The judge, a woman with eyebrows that could foreclose a house, suggested a farmer's market for feelings and moved on. We installed boundaries like new windows. Communication through the app. No midnight, we should talk. She handed over devices for imaging. I handed them back with a chain of custody sheet that could win a pageant. We set a rule, no public. Posts about proceedings, no subtweets, no thinly veiled some people. Her friends kept trying to support with comments. My lawyer kept screenshots like a squirrel keeps acorns. Quietly, I donated one sealed box of teas to a shelter after confirming through the court that we could move a small portion for charitable use. The director texted a photo. Lined up, sorted, useful. No hashtags, no launch, just shirts on people who needed them. It didn't fix anything. It made a corner of the spreadsheet breathe. By the time the preliminary injunction hearing circled, our books were cleaner than our hearts. I could look at any line and tell you its story and its fate. Hers could too, which is what accountability feels like. Not prison, just fluorescent lighting and receipts. The divorce terms were taking shape with math, not metaphors. And the next stop was the courtroom where numbers, not captions, get the mic. Courtroom resolution. Numbers don't lie. Court was beige with authority. The judge took the bench with eyebrows that could garnish wages, and my lawyer stacked our binders like a Jenga tower made of receipts. Her side arrived with a brief that smelled like apologies and lavender. The clerk called the case. My stomach tried to file a continuance. We proceeded. My attorney led with the greatest hits. Joint funds diverted, forged PG, inventory immobilized at Dock 4, processors frozen like lasagna. He spoke in bullet points that did taxes. He slid Exhibit A, my affidavit with timestamps. B, bank statements with the Sense Test constellation. C, Slack exports. D, the QR portal screenshots with SKUs named like motivational posters. The judge flipped, nodded, sipped courtroom coffee that tasted like compliance. Her lawyer tried to paint entrepreneurship as a love language. It was a marital venture, she said. A surprise, albeit poorly executed. The judge looked over her glasses. A surprise? She repeated, dry as a credit policy. Counsel, surprises do not typically require forged signatures. She tapped the PG side by side, the drunk swan G, and asked, whose flourish is this? Counsel swallowed air. My lawyer whispered, not the defendant's. The forensic accountant took the stand and frowned the way numbers fear. He walked the court through flow of funds like a bedtime story for auditors. $1 to printer tests, $2 to domain fees, subsequent debits to fulfillment, culminating in a rush purchase at Threadforge of 50,000 units. He pointed to a chart with colors that made lying physically impossible. These outlays originated from the joint account, not from separate property. Opposing counsel tried to pivot. But the shirts are assets, she said. They are inventory with resale value. The judge twirled a pen. Purchased how? Joint funds, counsel admitted. Without consent, my lawyer added. During the breakdown, the accountant nodded. The judge made a small check mark that sounded like a verdict. We rolled the tape on risk. My attorney laid out the processor emails. Reserves to 100%, payouts held up to 180 days, account under review. He cited case law about chargeback exposure and why courts prevent foreseeable financial avalanches. He said irreparable harm, and the judge's eyebrows nodded. He said public interest, and the clerk's pen took notes. Meanwhile, Chad sat in back like a motivational speaker who'd wandered into honesty by mistake. Then came the part one didn't plan. The judge asked me to speak. I stood, used my trustworthy voice, and kept it math. Your Honor, I rebuilt my credit from please use cash to we might trust you with a sedan. I budget like it's cardio. I did not consent to financing a stealth startup through a man who named Slack channels #WinBackAngry. I'm not asking for punishment. I'm asking for balance. The judge blinked once, a judicial yes. She turned to my wife. Did you use joint funds without explicit consent? A long breath then. Yes. Did you authorize a personal guarantee using your husband's name? I believed he would approve, she said. That's not authorization, the judge replied. That's fiction. Rulings arrived like neat, satisfying dings. Finding. Marital waste, also called dissipation. Joint funds used for non-marital purposes during breakdown. Finding. Breach of fiduciary duty owed between spouses regarding community finances. Orders. Reimbursement to the joint estate in the amount on our ledger, dollar for dollar. Allocation. All cotton metric. Related debts and liabilities, including storage and processor fees, assigned to her column. Inventory. Liquidated under court supervision. Proceeds first reimbursed joint account, then costs. Any remainder, if any, held in constructive trust pending final division. She wasn't done. The judge turned to Chad's counsel. Yes, he'd finally lawyered up and issued sanctions for the forged PG and the attempted onboarding with my credit. Referral to the proper authorities for investigation of potential fraud, she said, like she was reading a weather report. Please enjoy the shade. My credit? The judge ordered formal notice to the bureaus attaching the court's findings. Fraudulent authorization voided. Any negative markers arising from this conduct to be removed or annotated accordingly.
This is not a scar he has to wear, she added. I exhaled so hard the pew squeaked. Opposing counsel requested mercy sprinkles. Can we maintain the TRO only as to funds? Allow inventory to move to preserve value? The judge raised a single brow. No movement until the receiver inventories and appraises. We do not chase value by multiplying chaos. Receiver appointed? My lawyer looked at me like Christmas had passed ethics. Deadlines fell from the bench like confetti with consequences. 7 days for full disclosures. 10 for the receiver's initial report. 14 for a status conference. Discovery on Slack, domains.
And payments expedited. Any tampering, the judge said, and I will discover contempt faster than your DNS can propagate. We rose. The gavel never slammed. It didn't need to. Numbers had spoken. Paper had won. In the hallway, my wife dabbed at her eyes and didn't look at me. Chad tried to meet my gaze and found case law instead. My lawyer handed me copies of orders still warm from the printer. They felt like clean floors. Walking out, I checked my credit app. The utilization graph was already curling back toward sanity. The bureaus had marked dispute, court order pending. Not victory, exactly. More like plumbing working again. Ugly, necessary, dignified. Outside, the sun did not care. Fine. I cared enough for both of us. Aftermath. Rebuild and resolve. The house got quiet in that way where the fridge becomes a motivational speaker. I changed every password like I was speedrunning paranoia, and my router sighed with relief when press never reappeared. New routines formed. Coffee, inbox, check the dog for emotional support, then budget like a monk with spreadsheets for rosary beads. Peace didn't arrive with trumpets. It arrived with autopays clearing and no beige branding on my bank feed. Business stabilized the way sourdough starters do. Slow bubbles, then bread. I built a cash buffer fat enough to use as a pillow, set contingency protocols that would make a submarine jealous, and added a second processor as a failover that I promised never to need. Vendors got polite love notes. We abide by boring. They wrote back heart emojis made of net 30 terms. Friends did quiet support. No gossip, no spilled tea, just coffee slid across tables and the occasional, "How's your blood pressure?" I'd answer with a screenshot of a reconciled ledger, and they'd nod like I'd sent a baby photo. Community is a weird word until you realize it's 5 people who will help you change a lock at 10 p.m. because your sense of safety wants a new hobby. I kept the humor because it's my vitamin D. I named my emergency fund Doc 5 and my router Court Order Wi-Fi. I labeled my shredder therapy and fed it a forest. But I didn't joke the feelings away. At night, there was the outline of a person in a sweatshirt that now lived in a box, and the dog would stare at the door like he knew plot twists. Grief doesn't do punchlines. It does dishes and leaves you alone with your own echo. Transparency became my religion. Every deposit had a note. Every transfer had a reason. Every just because purchase had an adult present. Control stopped being a fortress and turned into a fence with a gate and a posted schedule. I realized I'd equated chaos with romance and then overcorrected by dating spreadsheets. Now I let trust knock, but I still check its ID. Meanwhile, the Cotton Saga did what sagas do, turn into logistics. The receiver took custody of the pallets, appraised them with a grim smile, and began the great trickle of liquidation. Proceeds marched back to the joint column like soldiers who'd learned manners. My ledger breathed, then yawned, then finally said, 0. I framed that printout like art. Minimalist, lots of white space, very healing. I did one petty good thing on purpose. I set up a scholarship line item in my budget called Better Choices. Quarterly, it buys boring gifts for overworked clerks, pays a surprise past due lunch account at a school, and keeps a stash of grocery cards in my glove box. Petty kindness slaps. Turns out the opposite of beige hustle is anonymous helpful. The last tug of the thread was the mailbox. One final letter from a bureau confirmed the annotation. Fraudulent PG void, negative marks removed. I held it like an ultrasound of a future visa. My score wasn't a superhero. It was a responsible neighbor who mows on Thursdays. I can live with Thursdays. I donated a sealed box of teas through the receiver's approved channel, then volunteered one Saturday at the shelter. A guy left wearing debt-free energy, which made the universe laugh through its nose. He high-fived me and said, "Nice fabric." For the first time in months, cotton didn't feel like a crime scene. It felt like clothes. The house stayed quiet, but not empty. New passwords, new routines, new jokes that survive contact with reality. I don't hate risk. I just make it show me its references. If love ever knocks again, I'll open the door with a checklist and 2 mugs. Romance can live here. So can receipts.
There's one t-shirt left on a chair, small, beige, stamped manifest, in a size I never wore, in a life I won't again. Doc 4 is quiet, press is offline, and my credit score no longer needs a helmet. If you want the full playbook I used to protect my credit, templates, scripts, and the petty checklists that actually work, subscribe and watch the next episode. New stories every week. Bring your coffee, your receipts, and please, no vendor holds.